Hi my friend, it's Pat Sloan here for my daily video. So on our calendar today, one of our friends, I've got the calendar in my cute little folder. Yes. So on the calendar today, there's icons up here on some of the days because those are special days. And one of our friends here asked, well, what do they mean? It's like, well, you got to watch the video to find out what they mean. But today, actually, if you just look down below, I actually told you, today is Hot Air Balloon Day. I love that. Hot air balloons are one of my favorite things. Have you ever been up in one? I've not been up in one, although I would like to. I would like to do that. So let me tell you a couple of things. First, several years ago in 2015, during the very first sew along for charity that I did with the Fat Quarter Shop, it was called Snapshots. There was a hot air balloon in that project. So here is a picture of the quilt from that year. And I think we were supporting St. Jude's that year. My quilt went up for auction, so I don't have that quilt. But I love that quilt. I had so much fun adding that black polka dot in there with a lot of my fabrics. And the balloon block was really easy to do. It's very cool. And what I also did is I had a friend at the time who was getting her first hot air balloon ride. She got, it was one of her dreams. And so I made the balloon block just for her so that she would have that memory. I thought that was so fun to do. Now these are patterns at the Fat Quarter Shop's blog. So down below and at my website, if you can't find the down below part, there is a link to the block. So I have a link just to the hot air balloon block and then a link to all of their posts about the snapshots sew along, where you can go to each post and get the block. It is just such a cute quilt and it was so fun to do. One of my personal great memories of hot air balloons was coming over the ridge. I was living in New Jersey and we were going to Pennsylvania, Greg and I, and there was a place where we came over the ridge near the border. And there's a great big field there on the right side of the highway. And as we came over that, and it was probably late in the day, like at dusk or something, the sky was literally just filled with colorful hot air balloons. It was one of those moments where you just go, ah, it is so exciting to see. And when you're not expecting it, we had no idea it was going on. So just to come over and find this just joyful burst of color of the hot air balloons, I will never ever forget that feeling. I do believe we pulled off the side of the road to look at them, and I believe there were a lot of other people who did the same. Now there's a lot of hot air balloon festivals across the country. We have gone to see them launch here when they used to do it years ago out at Dulles Airport. They would do like once a year, have some sort of a festival. So we went one morning, early morning, when they were launching early in the morning. I know Albuquerque has an amazing hot air balloon festival that one of my good friends has gone to. Maybe I'll put that on my list to do someday. So today, share a quilt that if you have a quilt with a hot air balloon on it, yes, show that. If you have a quilt that is colorful like a hot air balloon. So think about all the brilliant colors they come in. So share a quilt today over at my community, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. I'd love to see a happy, bright quilt from you. So we had a great event with the Baby Lock people, the royal we, me, and all of them. I had a great time. I don't know why I say that sometimes. But we did a lot of training. I learned some really fun stuff. I'm now going to try, which I have never really done this before, but on your machines you have your plate. This is the sole plate that has, and they come in what's called straight stitch and a not straight stitch. So I have got one. This is the one where it's got an opening so that you can do all your fancy stitches. But there is a straight stitch plate. I'm just taking it out of my Solaris. And you can see the straight stitch plate has just, can you get it? Let's see, there it is. See, this one has just the hole, and this one, there, you can see it's an oblong. So I have put the straight stitch plate in. There you go, straight stitch plate in. because I want to try it. One of the things that the educator that we were taking a class with told us is that for a lot of machines, as your needle, hits through all that fabric, your fabric will be pulled down just a little tiny bit into the, into that opening, which is logical, right? If you're trying to push a pin through the fabric, even if you're holding it. And that straight stitch often helps keep your stitch nicer. If you've been having any kind of problem, you might give it a try. The big thing is that if you change between a straight stitch and a stitch that moves the needle, you have to know to take your switch plate off, your sole plate off rather. The Solaris tells me that. It's a very high-end machine which knows by the electronics and where the positioning is of these knobs when I put it in, which plate I have in. So it has slightly different adapters, so that when I have the straight stitch in, it knows it tells me if I try to use a stitch that is going to go any kind of direction. So I feel more comfortable. In the past, when I was doing a lot of applique, I was always a little nervous that I would forget. The worst you're going to do probably is break a needle, but it could be much worse than that. You could jam it or bad things. So, but I am really happy to be trying this out and see what difference it makes for me. Always fun. You got to try fun stuff. Okay, before we go to the book tour, I have put the backing. I sewed the backing last night for Home Is. So what I had is I went through my Morrison Park fabric, and the paisley, I had one big chunk of it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a big chunk in the middle of the paisley. And then I went and looked at a bunch of the other fabrics and auditioned them with the paisley, the blue ones. And I thought, you know what? I really just like the stripe. That seems to be the best. So I took this big rectangle, and I'm going to hold this up. Let's see how I can do back here. But I took this rectangle of paisley and I put stripes above and below it, and then I put them on the sides. So here we go. So you can get an idea, I'll just hold it up. So the rectangle is in the middle, back, 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 back. There we go, with stripes on both sides and at the bottom. And I really like that. I think it goes really nicely with this. I am going to use either this stripe from Morrison Park, this one, or the stripe that I had from the Stitch Blue, which I use a lot of that fabric in here, which is a little bit wider stripe and has a little bit more variance of blue, shades of blue. So I might do that. We'll see when it comes back from the spa and being quilted. So let's say we're on our book tour. This is day 6 of the book tour, and we are going to meet Bonnie Hunter. Bonnie is, she's amazing. She has been a super good friend of mine for many, many years. Bonnie and I started writing blogs way back in the day, and we both still enjoy writing articles. She writes them daily, I believe. So she does daily articles. But we became friends way back when through the internet, and then over time Bonnie and I taught at events. Like, here's a picture of Bonnie standing next to her quilt at the Vermont Quilt Festival. We were both teaching there. We both taught together at several other events, including going on a cruise. So it was always so much fun to have an event where we got to do things together. Now, one of the things, if you're not familiar with Bonnie Hunter, one of her big focuses is working with scraps. So she's a scrap queen, very, very good at it. Her color sense is spectacular. So here are a couple of her quilts. You can see that she will do this sense of color that she might have you say, well, this position will be red, but you could use every red that you have, and this, and more is better. So she does a mystery quilt I believe it comes out like Thanksgiving, something like that. It's right at the end of the year, and it's a really fast-paced mystery done, and it uses up a lot of your scraps, uses them up. There are other things about Bonnie that you will really love. If you love old machines, she has a large variety of vintage machines, and she sews on them. So she rotates them out and likes to use them, so you'll see them in her photos a lot. And the most fun part is that Bonnie and I now live in the same state. She was in North Carolina most recently for many years, and then a couple years ago now, she purchased a property at the very bottom of Virginia. And Virginia is long, so we are not really near each other. I'm at the top of Virginia and she's down at the bottom of Virginia, but she bought a property that had a big old home on it. And that home now is her retreat center. So here's a picture of her retreat center, and I'm going to show you a couple of photos from the inside. She has thought it through so brilliantly, because Bonnie is a teacher and her main thing is to teach. She liked to go out on the road. She was on the road teaching many years before the COVID started. And so then, but she already had the retreat center in place. It had just opened, had not been that opened I think in late 2019, but you can book the retreat center and your group can go there. It is at the bottom of Virginia, so if you're coming from the south, it's not that hard to get to. It's kind of remote. It's in the mouth of Wilson, which there's a link. I have a link to her retreat website so that you can learn all about what it is. So Bonnie has done a little project for my book tour, and she found some of these really cute little figures. These little, beavers? And this they're just, or squirrels or something. They're just so stinking cute. And she put those in one of the quilts from my book. So you can go out and see what she did. You can enter to win a copy of my book, and then if you have missed a few of the previous days, they're all still open, so you can enter at all of the previous designers. The whole list is at my website today. The book tour is so fun. I don't know that much in advance what they're going to make, and that has been exciting for me to see how my friends are taking the designs. So visit Bonnie. Share a very colorful quilt with me today over at my community page, and have a wonderful, wonderful sewing day. I'm Pat Sloan. I love you. Mwah. See you online.